Everyone was angry with her when she cut her hair, she said, but she did not care. It's nothing to do with anyone but myself, she would say. And of course, short hair was much easier for riding and sailing. She was painted on horseback, you know. A famous artist did it. The picture hung in the academy. Did you ever see it? I shook my head. No, I said. No. I understood it was the picture of the year, she went on, but Mr. De Winter did not care for it and would not have it at Manderley. I don't think he considered it did her justice. You would like to see her clothes, wouldn't you? She did not wait for my answer. She led me to the little ante-room and opened the wardrobes one by one. I keep her furs in here, she said. The moths have not got to them yet, and I doubt if they ever will. I'm too careful. Feel that sable wrap. That was a Christmas present from Mr. De Winter. She told me the cost once, but I've forgotten it now. This chinchilla she wore in the evenings mostly, round her shoulders very often when the evenings were cold. This wardrobe here is full of her evening clothes. You opened it, didn't you? The latch is not quite closed. I believe Mr. De Winter liked her to wear silver mostly, but of course she could wear anything, stand any colour. She looked beautiful in this velvet. Put it against your face. It's soft, isn't it? You can feel it, can't you? The scent is still fresh, isn't it? You could almost imagine she had only just taken it off. I would always know when she had been before me in a room. There would be a little whiff of her scent in the room. These are her underclothes, in this drawer. This pink set here she had never worn. She was wearing slacks, of course, and a shirt when she died. They were torn from her body in the water, though. There was nothing on the body when it was found, all those weeks afterwards. Her fingers tightened on my arm. She bent down to me, her skull's face close, her dark eyes searching mine. The rocks had battered her to bits, you know, she whispered, her beautiful face unrecognisable, and both arms gone. Mr. De Winter identified her. He went up to Edgecombe to do it. He went quite alone. He was very ill at the time, but he would go. No one could stop him, not even Mr. Crawley. She paused, her eyes never leaving my face. I shall always blame myself for the accident, she said. It was my fault for being out that evening. I had gone into Kerrith for the afternoon and stayed there late, as Mrs. De Winter was up in London, and not expected back until much later. That's why I did not hurry back. When I came in about 9:30, I heard she had returned just before 7, had her dinner, and then went out again. Down to the beach, of course. I felt worried then. It was blowing from the southwest. She would never have gone if I'd been in. She always listened to me. I wouldn't go out this evening, it's not fit, I should have said. And she would have answered me, "All right, Danny, you old fusspot." And we would have sat up here, talking no doubt, she telling me all she had done in London, like she always did. My arm was bruised and numb from the pressure of her fingers. I could see how tightly the skin was stretched across her face, showing the cheekbones. There were little patches of yellow beneath her ears. Mr. De Winter had been dining with Mr. Crawley down at his house, she went on. I don't know what time he got back. I dare say it was after 11. But it began to blow quite hard just before midnight, and she had not come back. I went downstairs, but there were no lights under the library door. I came upstairs again and knocked on the dressing-room door. Mr. De Winter answered at once. "Who is it? What do you want?" he said. I told him I was worried about Mrs. De Winter not being back. He waited a moment, and then he came and opened the door in his dressing gown. "She's spending the night down at the cottage, I expect," he said. "I should go to bed if I were you. She won't come back here to sleep if it goes on like this." He looked tired, and I did not like to disturb him. After all, she spent many nights at the cottage, and had sailed in every sort of weather. She might not even have gone for a sail, but just wanted the night at the cottage as a change after London. I said good night to Mr. De Winter and went back to my room. I did not sleep, though. I kept wondering what she was doing. She paused again. I did not want to hear anymore. I wanted to get away from her, away from the room. I sat on my bed until 5:30, she said. Then I couldn't wait there any longer. I got up and put on my coat and went down through the woods to the beach. It was getting light, but there was still a misty sort of rain falling, although the wind had dropped. When I got to the beach, I saw the boy there in the water and the dinghy, but the boat had gone. It seemed to me that I could see the cove in the grey morning light, feel the thin drizzle on my face, and peering through the mist could make out, shadowy and indistinct, the low, dark outline of the boy. Mrs. Danvers loosened the pressure on my arm. Her hand fell back again to her side. Her voice lost all expression, became the hard, mechanical voice of every day. One of the lifebuoys was washed up at Kerrith in the afternoon, she said, and another was found the next day by some crabbers on the rocks below the headland. Bits and pieces of rigging, too, would come in with the tide. She turned away from me and closed the chest of drawers. She straightened one of the pictures on the wall. She picked up a piece of fluff from the carpet. I stood watching her, not knowing what to do. "You know now," she said, "why Mr. De Winter does not use these rooms anymore? Listen to the sea." Even with the windows closed and the shutters fastened, I could hear it, a low, sullen murmur as the waves broke on the white shingle in the cove. The tide would be coming in fast now and running up the beach nearly to the stone cottage. "He has not used these rooms since the night she was drowned," she said. "He had his things moved out from the dressing room. We made up one of the rooms at the end of the corridor. I don't think he slept much even there. He used to sit in the armchair. There would be cigarette ash all around it in the morning, and in the daytime Frith would hear him in the library pacing up and down, up and down, up and down. I too could see the ash on the floor beside the chair. I too could hear his footsteps, 1, 2, 1, 2, backwards and forwards across the library. Mrs. Danvers closed the door softly between the bedroom and the anteroom where we were standing and put out the light. I could not see the bed anymore, nor the night-dress case upon the pillow, nor the dressing table, nor the slippers by the chair. She crossed the anteroom and put her hand on the knob of the door and stood waiting for me to follow her. "I come to the rooms and dust them myself every day," she said. "If you want to come again, you have only to tell me. Ring me on the house telephone. I shall understand. I don't allow the maids up here. No one ever comes but me." Her manner was fawning again, intimate and unpleasant. The smile on her face was a false, unnatural thing. "Sometimes, when Mr. De Winter is away and you feel lonely, you might like to come up to these rooms and sit here. You have only to tell me. They are such beautiful rooms. You would not think she had gone now for so long, would you? Not by the way the rooms are kept. You would think she had just gone out for a little while and would be back in the evening." I forced a smile. I could not speak. My throat felt dry and tight. "It's not only this room," she said. "It's in many rooms in the house. In the morning room, in the hall, even in the little flower room. I feel her everywhere. You do too, don't you?" She stared at me curiously. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Sometimes, when I walk along the corridor here, I fancy I hear her just behind me. That quick, light footstep. I could not mistake it anywhere. And in the minstrel's gallery above the hall, I've seen her leaning there, in the evenings, in the old days, looking down at the hall below and calling to the dogs. I can fancy her there now from time to time. It's almost as though I catch the sound of her dress sweeping the stairs as she comes down to dinner." She paused. She went on looking at me, watching my eyes. "Do you think she can see us, talking to one another now?" she said slowly. "Do you think the dead come back and watch the living?" I swallowed. I dug my nails into my hands. "I don't know," I said. "I don't know." My voice sounded high-pitched and unnatural, not my voice at all. "Sometimes I wonder," she whispered. Sometimes I wonder if she comes back here to Manderley and watches you and Mr. De Winter together. We stood there by the door, staring at one another. I could not take my eyes away from hers. How dark and sombre they were in the white skull's face of hers, how malevolent, how full of hatred. Then she opened the door into the corridor. "Robert is back now," she said. "He came back a quarter of an hour ago. He has orders to take your tea out under the chestnut tree." She stepped aside for me to pass. I stumbled out onto the corridor, not looking where I was going. I did not speak to her. I went down the stairs blindly and turned the corner and pushed through the door that led to my own rooms in the east wing. I shut the door of my room and turned the key and put the key in my pocket. Then I lay down on my bed and closed my eyes. I felt deadly sick.